tick number, I forgot. Okay, this is how you build your DPS in general in the Honkai Star Rail. This is for, I guess, newer players, but also potentially players who want to know a bit more about the game and its mechanics. But rather than watching, say, like 20 different guides on like 20 different characters, you can just watch one potentially, and you're gonna be like, oh, it's not that bad, and then you have like a good reference for the future. So as you can see, we're gonna start with the damage formula, which everything is based off of, which I've also color coded. We're gonna start with the base damage. So as you can see, it says ability multiplier times the stat. So this stat just depends on the character and what they scale off of, and generally speaking, it's gonna be attack percent. So on the right side, we can see Jingyuan, but sometimes they can scale off of more unique stats, such as Aventurine on defense or Fushuan on HP. But this is the base damage. There's also extra damage, which there's not really too many instances in the game currently, but it's just Tingyun from what I can recall that actually falls into this. So generally, just don't worry about extra damage. Next, we have crit. This is a thing that everybody simps for. A bit overrated in my opinion, but you can get this from various sources. For example, you can get it from your artifacts, your traces, but you can also get it from your teammates and their skills. And in this case, this is sparkles. For the most part, we're not going to be talking about this just because we're trying to learn how to build a character, or even how damage works in a sense. And lastly, we have the damage bonus multiplier. This you can find in a few places, potentially the light cone, also again support buffs, but also the most important one I guess would be your planar sphere, which can roll various things, but you know, damage percent. On the latter part of the formula, we have weaken, defense, res, vulnerability, damage mitigation. For this, where we're just trying to learn how to build the best character we can. These are external stuff. I was gonna explain it before, but after doing it so many times, I'm not. But it doesn't really matter. But essentially, lower defense, bigger PP damage for you, if the enemy has less defense. And then if you have more res pen and they have less res, more big PP damage. Okay, now we can get to a visualization on how the damage works. So just imagine a rectangular prism, or a cube in this case, and we're just trying to get the biggest volume. Now, having these attack, crit, damage bonus on the different axes, it's like, how do we make the biggest or the highest amount of volume for this rectangular prism? So assuming we had, say, 9 total something, whether it's substats or buffs, if we're trying to distribute it with these 3 stats, like what's the best way to do it so we can get the biggest number? Using simple math, as we can see, the best way is to just have a balanced build. Have a decent amount of attack, crit, and damage bonus. As we can see, if we get only stack attack, or if we were to switch this around, or only stack damage percent, it just wouldn't result in the highest amount of damage. Okay, as it says here, not all stats are equal. Generally, crit and damage bonus would slightly out damage attack percent. So, but let's move on to the idea of diminishing returns. I hear this idea fairly often, to be honest, and honestly, it's kind of fucking annoying, because it's like, it's true to a certain extent, but it's like, it's not to the extent that these other people think it has like an effect on like the overall result. The base premise is as the name implies, but here we can just, here's a little example. If you had 1,000 attack and then you add a 1 attack percent substat to the base of it, overall you would get a 3.88% damage gain. So, but if we were to do it again, using the final number and then the previous number, as you can see, it's just gonna be slightly less, and this is for like any stat, regardless on what it is. But it more so attack percent generally, just because you get attack percent from like various sources, and because example that your gloves will have a base amount of attack. You already have attack as your base character generally has around like 1200, but then when you look at damage percent, for most characters they have 0. but I guess some light cones, of course, would add damage percent or whatnot, and some traces as well. But assuming it's 0, and then going to this model, going from like no damage bonus to like quite a bit is like a really big jump, as opposed to already having attack percent in your kit and then adding a bit more. But the thing is, it's not as big as some people would like to believe. As you can see here, I'm gonna do a little test, and overall the difference between the test, it's only a 6% damage like decrease from lightning to attack percent. It's not the biggest deal, but it could be just the biggest thing for some people. But in my opinion, if you're new especially, it just does not fucking matter, okay? But for this test, of course, I'll be using Jingyuan. It's just the easiest with Jingyuan, just because this kit is so straightforward, you know, being released in 1.0. He's going to be using this light cone. This is just so there's no light cone passive influencing anything. For traces, there's no traces that would influence the damage or skew it in any particular direction. Even this one right here, I'm going to be using his ult to showcase the damage, so none of these other traces would really impact it. And as for the relics, I do have the Grand Duke relic set. Here's substats. But because I'm using the ult, it won't impact the final damage. And in the showcase, I'll be using a Pinaconi orb, just so there's no set bonus. And for the comparison of the two orbs, it will be this lightning damage orb with 17.4 crit damage, and then this attack percent one, which has the same, thankfully, and also this negligible amount of flat attack. So yeah.
Radiant spirit, heed my word. Show no mercy. For the radiant spirit, heed my word.
Please crit.
Show no mercy.
Okay, well, we can finally get to actually building our characters. Okay, but first we just have to understand that base stats are super important, and this is determined by two things, that being your light cone and also just your character in themselves. So this is Jing Liu, and as we can see, if we just add these two together, we get the attack, and then we also get defense 2. Speed also just dependent on the character as well, but based on your substats or your gear, this can be increased by quite a bit. So yeah, TLDR, level up your character and your light cone. In regards to traces, on the other hand, these are very important. Just level them up ideally. But the main important thing is every time you level up your trace, it's around a 7% damage increase, give or take. As you can see, 93 over 87, it's around 7, and then other traces or for other characters as well will be doing like the exact same thing. I won't be talking about like, oh, what light cone you use, what artifact set. Other YouTubers do a way better job than I ever could. But in regards to artifacts, the raw essentials that you need if you are new or whatever, how do you build your characters? So as you know, the gloves and the helmet, or the helmet and gloves, they're already predetermined, with the gloves giving 350 to attack. We're just gonna look at attack percent scalars in this case, just to simplify things. But as we for the rope, there's only attack percent there. There's no interesting stuff, so we're just gonna put attack percent there. And then as we saw earlier with the example for Jingyuan, we understand, or should understand, that damage percent and attack percent are very close, with damage percent slightly edging out attack percent, with attack percent being perfectly viable. So the next question is, what do you build for your chest? Crit rate, crit damage, attack percent. Okay, so for crit damage and attack percent, we can essentially just think about it in the regards of we're just doing more damage. So going back to this formula, essentially we're just making so we got bigger numbers over here. But for crit rate, on the other hand, it's just being more consistent. So we can just visualize it in a bell curve. Essentially, with crit damage and attack percent, there's going to be a wider distribution, so you're going to hit higher highs, but at times you're also going to hit lower lows. Korea, on the other hand, your bell curve is just going to be much more in the middle, and you're not going to have any hero moments where just an outlier and just saves your run, but you're also not going to have those moments where you didn't crit and your run is just dead, ideally. Okay. To compare crit damage and attack percent, we can use Jingyuan again. So I have these two pieces, crit damage here, and thankfully there's no substats which would affect the damage from what I will be doing, and also attack percent, and there's no crit damage here too, or flat attack, which will influence the results. Okay, this will be with the attack percent body.
Radiant spirit, heed my word. Show no mercy.
Oh, okay.
Time for the radiant spirit.
Crit this time?
Heed my word. Show no mercy.
Dude, okay, bro.
Show no mercy.
Dude, are you?
Show no mercy.
Dude, are you fucking? Oh, dude.
Show no mercy.
God, thank you. Jesus, fuck.
Show no mercy.
Okay, well, as you can see, attack percent is quite substantially behind crit in this case. But what's even better than both of these would be crit rate. Imagine me critting and I wouldn't have to restart like 5 different times. And also, in regards to math, it's also better that way too. Because if you don't crit, all your crit damage is just completely wasted. And according to formula, if we don't have this one part over here, it'll make it 2-dimensional, and the damage would just be disappeared in the Seer Butterflies. Okay, but some characters, example Jingyuan, have a lot of crit rate in their kit already. So the question is, how do you know when to build crit rate or when to build crit damage? Because clearly attack percent is not it for this. Essentially, thankfully for EOD Gamer in his chart, you just want a 1-to-2 ratio. So if you have 60, like example 60 crit rate, and then like 120 crit damage, that'd be pretty good. And then so on, or like so less, whatever. But this doesn't matter necessarily too much, but like the 1-to-2 golden ratio is what is ideal. Okay, so far we understand that if you are an attack scaler, you're probably going attack percent rope. Your gloves are already predetermined, and in regards to your spear, ideally the one with the better substat. On the chest piece, on the other hand, attack percent is not it, and ideally you just get a nice ratio of crit rate and crit damage. So now the main thing in regards to your character, the question is, do you go speed or attack? While other YouTubers explain it probably much better than I could, I made a little diagram on which one you should use. Certain characters use too many skill points and it is just not sustainable, so you'll probably just be going attack percent with them instead. So we had Qing Chui and then also Dan Heng here. And some characters such as Jingyuan or Claire don't really use speed too well, because Claire, her main gimmick is her follow-up attack, and same for Jingyuan. Although I go speed Jingyuan because I don't got Sparkle. But if you're using Sparkle or Hyperspeed Bronya, where you're probably doing a basic skill, you can get away with going attack boots on your main DPS, or just DPS or whatever. But also, if you just want big PP numbers, you can go attack boots. But for speed boots, everyone else should probably be running speed. Just so you're not getting absolutely lapped by like the enemy, especially if nobody's running like, speed on your team, which shouldn't be the case. But in regards to your attack, the reason why people have certain thresholds, such as like 134 or like 160 is to meet these thresholds in Memory of Chaos, which better content creators would explain. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Hopefully that helped, and yeah, thanks.